everybody, my name is Mimi and today we are talking about something oh so controversial. I never thought I would talk about this on my channel, but I saw this and I thought, I should make a video about this. And I'm just going to say, like, I'm gonna clear this up right now. If I get a ton of bad comments on this video, I will not hesitate to take it down because I'm scared, guys. I'm so scared, and I'm really not this type of confrontational person, but I really wanted to talk about this for some reason. I don't know what has come over me, what's possessed me. But anyway, before we start, I'm wearing my crochet vest that I made. I'll show you. It's got these buttons on it. Anyway. And another thing I want to clear up too before we start is I do really care about the environment and sustainability. I hope that people don't get the wrong idea from this video, but I really do. You don't know this about me, but I'm actually a landscape designer. My major in school was landscape architecture, so I really do care about the environment, and I think it's very important that we care about the environment. But at the same time, there's only so much that we can do if we're being honest. And, you know, a lot of what happens to the environment is out of our hands as consumers. As you know, it's, you know, the big companies and corporations that make a lot of those decisions. So there's only so much we can do, you know, but we can do our own individual part. But aside from that, if you clicked on the title of this video, you're probably here because you've seen this post on, not this post, but you've seen the Zara and We Are Knitters collaboration that is happening right now. And I personally heard about it from Wool Walla on Instagram. I've got it pulled up right here. From Wool Walla on Instagram. And her post says, we need to talk about the We Are Knitters and Zara collaboration. And that's true. We need to talk about this. So that's what we're doing today. We are talking about it. And I'm just going to also clear up, I don't have a lot of hot takes on the situation. I don't. So if you're coming here looking for something juicy, I'm so sorry, but I do not have it for you. I really don't. I can only show you guys the facts. That is what I'm aiming to do here, showing you the facts and the situation, and just ask a couple of hopefully thought-provoking questions. That is the only intention behind this video. There's no double meaning or anything hidden. This is very straightforward. I'm just trying to be very straightforward and honest with you guys before we start. So let's just go ahead and start with this post, right? Because that's where we're starting with. So on the second slide of this Instagram post, it says, "We Are Knitters collaborating with Zara undermines the whole ethos of knitting, which is all about slow fashion." So that's a big statement, right? That's a pretty hefty statement. Let's unpack that. I wrote a script too. I wrote a script for this video. Never done that before. I'm so serious about this, guys. So serious. Anyway, so let's unpack that statement because that's a heavy statement. So the statement starts with We Are Knitters. So let's start there. So to start with We Are Knitters, I actually pulled up their website. So good, get it straight from the horse's mouth. My laptop on the We Are Knitters website, and if you're on the We Are Knitters website, you can literally go to the homepage, scroll down, and they have this banner right here that says Sustainable DIY, and you can click Read More, and it takes you all to this page all about We Are Knitters sustainability. So that's what we're going to read today. So it says in big letters right at the top, slow fashion. So that is what We Are Knitters is making their company about, essentially. They're about slow fashion. So it says, We Are Knitters is trying to spread the slow fashion movement by bringing new value to handmade fashion items. We work on developing trendy designs and kits for beginners so we can reach younger generations. That's important too. Remember the word trendy. We Are Knitters brands themselves as being trendy. So We Are Knitters, you know, like we just said, they're trying to spread slow fashion. That is what their goal is. Going down a bit more, it says contribute to a better planet. And then it says, have you ever thought about how the clothes that we buy are made? If knitting your own sweater takes more than a week and costs more than $90, which is true, how can other brands produce them in less than one day for under $20? We encourage everyone to think about the labor, cost, and production processes that we're supporting. By doing this, we have an opportunity to reduce pollution and our impact on the environment. And I really like this statement. It is very true. you can see sweaters, albeit most of them are machine made, that are made for a fraction of the cost of what you know it costs to make a sweater. You know the time that you have to put into it, you know the material cost. As knitters and crocheters, we understand this fully and we know this, so how can these companies produce these designs? Especially now, you see Target actually has a couple of crochet pieces that are not made by a crochet machine, they're made by hand, and you wonder how are they able to produce these designs for so cheap to sell them to us for so cheap in turn. So you have to wonder, what is the price of the labor that they're doing? And then you have to ask yourself, do you still want to support Target after that, after you know what they're doing? And then you have to ask yourself, well, if I choose not to support Target, is that really hurting Target? It's probably not, if we're being honest. You know, one person's choice does not really impact a whole a whole company, you know. And in some cases you may view it as, oh, I'm just hurting myself more than not supporting them, than I'm hurting them, which you may see as true, and sometimes, I'll be honest, I've seen as true. Yeah, so you just have to ask yourself that question about labor when it comes to those types of situations with these handmade clothes that department stores are selling. And then going down on their website, back to their website, they have a couple of different yarns here. They have a recycled yarn, a bamboo yarn, and a recycled tape yarn that's made from recycled shirts. So it just talks a little about each of these yarns, and then going on they have some well-known recognition from certain groups and organizations, such as the RCS, or the Recycled Claim Standard, or GOTS, the Global Organic Textile Standard, a lot of other, recognition and support from these other groups. So We Are Knitters really does brand themselves in this very eco-friendly, environmentally sustainable, slow fashion brand. So we've already established who We Are Knitters is. So now let's go back to the original statement. So the next part of our statement says, We Are Knitters collaborating. So collaborating, as far as I can tell, the collaboration is only a We Are Knitters crochet phone case kit that Zara is selling on their website, and that's important too. It's not We Are Knitters selling some trendy design that Zara made on their website. That's not the way this collaboration is working. It's literally just Zara selling a We Are Knitters kit on their website. That is the extent of the collaboration. And the word collaboration, as defined by the Dictionary of Cambridge, says the situation of two or more people working together to create or achieve the same thing. So you could argue that the same thing they're trying to achieve is sustainability. Maybe this is Zara's way of trying to be more sustainable, so they're collaborating with an unlikely partner in this, who would be We Are Knitters. And maybe that's why this whole collaboration took place. You could even go out on a limb and say that maybe Zara and We Are Knitters are enemies because of what We Are Knitters clearly stands for, what we just saw, versus what Zara appears to be standing for. But we're gonna unpack that more in just a minute. So let's talk now about the next part of our statement. Going back, so we've got We Are Knitters collaborating with Zara. So now we're on to Zara. So let's look a little bit more at Zara. Many believe that Zara's success comes from their business model that they've created for themselves, which is churning out new designs that are trendy and on beat and on point every 2 weeks. So they can get a design that has been that is new to the public. They can get these TikTok trends going in as little as 2 weeks, and that is very fast for the fashion industry when it comes to design all the way to selling. That is very, very quick. But let's look a little bit more at Zara's sustainability line, because Zara does have a line that they claim is a bit more sustainable, a little bit more eco-friendly, so let's look more at that. The material that Zara mainly uses on their website is polyester. And polyester is produced from petroleum. It requires a lot of energy and releases many harmful gases, including CO2 and ammonia, into the air and into our water supply, which is not good. And now before you say, oh, well, I knit, so it doesn't matter what I make, as long as I'm knitting with it, it makes all of my clothing sustainable. And I just wanted to go ahead and tell you, you can buy polyester yarn. And more than that, it's cheap, and I have some right here. This yarn is 100% polyester. I got it from Michael's. Albeit I got this yarn before I knew about polyester and how bad it was for the environment, but I still have it here. I have other yarns. I have acrylic. I have, yarns with polyamide in it. I have all of those yarns. So polyamide, being similar to polyester, also is in your soft yarns. So is there any real way to get away from this? Yes and no. You can actively choose not to use polyester yarns. You can actively choose not to use, yarns that have a acrylic or a plastic base. But, then you can ask yourself, well, it's already been produced. What more harm am I doing by buying it? And that's a fair argument. That is a fair argument to make. I guess it all just depends on how far you're willing to go in support of the environment. How much does it really hurt your own feelings? That's just a question you'll have to ask yourself and do some soul searching for, you guys. I cannot answer that for you, if you should use a polyester or acrylic yarns or not. That's really up to you. And another thing is these yarns, these polyesters, these acrylics, these yarns are cheap, guys. And they're so affordable, and like many of us, I started completely 100% on acrylic yarn. I didn't know any difference between acrylics and wools. I didn't know. I didn't know that every time you wash acrylics, that up to 700,000 microplastics go into the water supply and in turn into our food every time you wash an acrylic item. I didn't know that, but now I do know it. So I have to ask myself, do I want to use acrylic yarn still? And I can tell you guys honestly that I don't use as much acrylic yarn as I used to, mainly not just because of the sustainability reasons, but just due to personal preference. And I'm not knocking anyone that does choose to use acrylic yarn. If you use acrylic yarn, that's your choice. If you want to use polyester yarn, that's your choice. But just be aware that your decision does have an impact. Even if it's a very small one. A very, very small one. It does. But yeah, that is your personal preference. I can only tell you guys my own opinion. I cannot offer any juicy hot takes on it. But yeah, that is what I think on the subject of that. And then there's cotton yarn, right? And I have some cotton yarn too. Hold on. This is cotton yarn. This yarn is, I think it's 100% cotton. Is it? 87% cotton, 13% nylon. So this is a majority cotton yarn. And cotton, of course, is a natural material. We grow cotton. And then you just have to say, oh, it's cotton, so automatically that makes it better, right? Not necessarily. Cotton is a very water-intensive crop. Very, very water-intensive. And as well as 11% of all pesticides in the world are devoted to cotton. So there's a lot of chemicals behind cotton too. It's not a black and white issue. Is cotton better than acrylic? Yes and no. You just have to look at the facts and decide for yourself if you're going to use it or not. Personally, I do use cotton yarn. It does not bother my conscience, but that's a decision that you have to make on your own. So like I said, my view is that there are pros and cons on every material. You just have to pick what you feel the most comfortable with. Zara has committed to sourcing only sustainable cotton and polyester by 2025. That's a date that is very quickly approaching. It's already 2022. So what about recycled materials? Less than 1% of material in used clothing is recycled into new clothing, mainly due to lack of technology. So even when clothes are labeled as recycled by Zara, that's not necessarily 100% true. You would see a label that says, oh, recycled, you would think, oh, this is completely recycled. No, only a certain percentage of that clothing item has to be recycled. So maybe only 50% of that garment is technically recycled material and the rest are new materials. And keep in mind, when something is recycled, that doesn't mean that every step in the process makes it a sustainable alternative. That doesn't mean that they had to use a sustainable dye option for the yarn, because oftentimes recycled yarns require more dye. So it's like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I don't think I can think of one on the top of my head, but they're not necessarily going the whole 9 yards is what I'm trying to say. Just because one part of it is sustainable doesn't mean the whole process is sustainable. Only a certain portion of that product has to be considered sustainable for the whole product to be labeled as completely sustainable. So even when you are purchasing these recycled products or these sustainable options, it's not 100% sure, and nothing is ever 100% sure. There's always going to be issues with transparency, or knowing exactly where materials are sourced from. It's really just up to the companies to be more transparent with that. But ideally, recycling clothes isn't the solution to the bigger problem. The bigger problem is overconsumption. And overconsumption is just this thing that we all have to live with. Even if you're buying secondhand, majority of people aren't buying secondhand. There's always going to be malls, online shopping, Shein, just to name a few. And a lot of this overconsumption has to do with the trends that are changing like the tides. The trends change so fast, guys. A lot of that is thanks to social media. Especially trends on TikTok, they get really big really fast and then they burn out just as quickly. So you have to ask yourself, well, what can I do about it as a knitter or as a crocheter? What can I do about trends? And really, there's not much you can do about it. Trends are going to come and go regardless of whether you choose to take part in them or not, but you can choose if you want to be a part of a trend. And trends aren't always a bad thing. If you see a trend that you really want to follow, then go for it. If you see yourself wearing that item for years to come in the future, you have to just ask yourself, am I going to buy a cheap acrylic yarn that costs a lot environmentally to make, and then I'm going to use that yarn on a trend that will be here and gone within a month, tops, and then I'm never going to wear that item again. You have to ask yourself, is that finished product worth the energy that was required to make that yarn, and was it worth the energy that you were required to put into that project? There's a lot of things that you can weigh out here, and just because you made it doesn't make you sustainable automatically. Even though you made it, you can still fall victim to the trends, guys, is what I'm trying to say. One example I've seen of this is the Harry Styles cardigan. I've seen that trend came right at the start of the pandemic, and a lot of people were making that cardigan. Almost everyone was using a cheap acrylic yarn to make it, and like I said, if you want to use acrylic yarn, that's your choice, but then you're only wearing that object maybe once, maybe twice. You don't really see that cardigan around anymore, and there's a reason for that, because it was just a trend. It wasn't something that was here to stay. As crocheters and as knitters, we can spend our time making pieces we know will be timeless. And that's not to say, like I said earlier, you can't ever follow a trend. If you want to follow a trend, follow a trend. It's really up to you. So now let's get back to our original statement, now that we've gone on such a long tangent. So We Are Knitters collaborating with Zara undermines the whole ethos of knitting, which is all about slow fashion. So is this statement true entirely? Does this collaboration really undermine everything that We Are Knitters stands for? And I'm gonna say yes and no. At a glance, yes, a brand like We Are Knitters, who is so committed to sustainability, shouldn't have anything to do with a brand like Zara, who has proven they're only here to follow trends to make money, and questionable pay to their laborers. I don't want to get into that issue too much, but it is very questionable if their laborers are paid a fair wage. Yeah, so at first glance, those two companies shouldn't really have anything to do with each other. But also no, because like I said earlier, this very likely is just Zara's attempt to look more sustainable. And in the end, it's all about numbers, guys. It's all about money. You know, is this going to reach a niche market for Zara? Are they trying to dip their toe into the crochet and the knitting community? Yes, that is exactly what they're trying to do. Did We Are Knitters probably feel honored or even pressured to accept a deal like a brand as big as Zara? Possibly. That is very possible. Sorry, my camera died. But we also need to consider the what if factor. What if through this collaboration many people are introduced to the world of knitting and to crochet and to sustainable fashion and slow fashion? You know, that is a big possibility. You know, the impact that this collaboration could have potentially is so great that does it matter that We Are Knitters collaborated with Zara in the first place if the outcome is going to be good in the end? And I think that's a question that you need to meditate on your own time. I can't tell you the answer to that question. I can't tell you if you should stop shopping at We Are Knitters or not. I can't tell you any of those things. You have to make that up for yourself. So I guess it all comes down to, will I keep supporting We Are Knitters? Personally, I did not shop at We Are Knitters before this whole fiasco happened. Personally, We Are Knitters has always just seemed a little bit out of my price point, to be fair. Yeah, they've always just seemed a little bit out of my budget, so I've never shopped at We Are Knitters before. Would I try their yarn if someone gave it to me? Absolutely. Would I spend my money on it knowing all of this information? I would say maybe. I don't want to rule it out completely, but I don't want to also say that I will, because I'm really not sure at this point. I haven't seen any evidence that We Are Knitters is greenwashing or that they're lying to their consumers. They seem to be very transparent about their yarns and how they're sourced and their commitment to slow fashion. So I mean, that's a good thing, and we shouldn't take that and automatically throw it all out the window just because of this one collaboration that happened. If we had to, and that's not to say we shouldn't hold companies accountable for their actions, but I guess what I'm saying is, if you stop supporting every company and every brand because of questionable decisions made by the owners of those companies, there literally would be nobody left to support. You just have to pick and choose your battles with this one. And I think that is everything I have to say. Oh, I do have something else to say. I want to ask you guys too, what do you think about the whole subject? Are you going to still shop with We Are Knitters? Did this change your perspective of them? I don't think people already had expectations of Zara, but of We Are Knitters, did you expect more from them? At the time of filming this post has 194 comments, and out of all 194, I read through each one. Only one of them said they would still support We Are Knitters, and the rest automatically canceled them. The rest all canceled We Are Knitters. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I hope this video was somewhat enjoyable to listen to. I hope that you had your knitting with you and your crochet and you just kind of chilled and listened to me talk and ramble on. sorry if I didn't offer anything in particular to this discussion. I can only present the facts to you guys in my very, very humble opinions. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you like this video. Let me know your thoughts on the situation. Should I make more videos in this style? You know, following a script, commentary sort of videos. Let me know, and if so, let me know what you want me to talk about. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.